Hello, today we'll be learning about integers and absolute value. So we're going to start off with some definitions that we'll need to know to be able to be successful with this. So we're going to go all the way back to preschool or maybe even kindergarten when you were learning about counting. And you started off with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. You might have even learned a little bit about the number 0, which is the lack of any quantity at all. All of these numbers are a set that's called whole numbers. None of them are fractions or parts. They're just whole numbers. They're positive. So they can be represented or used to represent lots of different things. For example, if you have 2 cookies, it would be represented with the number 2, the whole number 2. However, if you decide to give 2 cookies away, those would be represented with a -2. So we've been introduced to negative numbers. We could have $4, or we could go to the store and realize we don't have money and we could owe $4. If we owe $4, that would also be represented with a negative. It would be a -4. So we have another set of numbers. These are all of our negative numbers. And each of the positive numbers has a negative number that is its opposite. So 1 and -1 are opposites. 2 is the opposite of -2. 3 is the opposite of -3, and so on. These are called either opposites or additive inverse. Both are correct terms. So now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about if we include all these whole numbers and all of their opposites into one single set, that would be called integers. So integers include whole numbers and their opposites. Still no fractions or rational numbers. We're not worrying about that right now. Just the whole numbers and their opposites. All right, we're going to move on to figuring out absolute value. So the first thing we need to know how to do is how to put the numbers onto a number line. We've talked about how we have whole numbers and their opposites. So we're going to start our number line with the number 0, right? That is the lack of anything at all. And then we're going to go ahead and move up. We already know how to move up along the number line, right? We have 0 and then 1 and 2. And we continue on with 3, 4, and 5. Now, we're going to do the similar thing on the opposite side. On the opposite side, we're still starting with 0, and we're going to go ahead and put the opposites. So, -1, -2, and continue on with -3, -4, -5. So we've been able to put all of these numbers onto the number line. The next thing is to understand what absolute value means. Absolute value just means the distance between whatever number it is and 0 on the number line. So the absolute value of a number A is written as A. And notice these 2 little lines. That's what shows us that it's the absolute value. So if you look at this example, the absolute value right here, it says absolute value of -4 is, let's count it, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 units away from 0, so the absolute value of -4 is 4. And the same thing with the absolute value of 4. We just count how far it is from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. Notice that the whole number and its opposite both have the same absolute value. That is because they are the same distance away from 0, just in opposite directions. So let's try one on our own. We want to find the absolute value of -1. So I'm going to go ahead and put a mark right here at -1. Oops, I want to change my color. Here's my -1. And I'm going to see how far it is away from 0. So we'll just go ahead and count. Oh, 1 spot from 0. So the absolute value of -1 is 1. Now, if you notice, absolute values always end up being a positive number because they are the distance from 0. It doesn't matter which direction you're going. All right, so now you should understand that. We're going to go ahead and move on to comparing integers. So in order to compare integers, we need to remember the number line, right? We know that on the number line, as numbers move to the right, they become greater. And as they move to the left, they become lesser or smaller, okay? So let's go ahead and try this out. We're going to compare the absolute value of -2 and -1. Well, first I have to figure out what my number is. So what is the absolute value of -2? Well, I can look at this -2 and count how many spaces it is from 0. 1, 2 spaces. So the absolute value is 2. So this question is really asking me to compare 2 and -1. So I'm going to go ahead and find them on my number line. I see 2 right here, so I'm going to mark it. There's 2. 2. And I see -1 right over here, and I'm going to mark it. Now, which one is greater? Well, it's obvious that 2 is greater because it is further to the right on the number line. So I'm going to go ahead and put my greater than sign in there. 2 is greater than -1. So that's how you would use the number line to compare integers. Hopefully all of this helps, and we'll go ahead and start on our assignment 1.1. Thank you.